Let's get funky like a monkey, baby.
Bringing a whole new attitude to your afternoons.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better. Woo!
You know, two dudes talking sports.
It doesn't matter what your names are.
Live from News Talk 1480 WHBC.
It's a household name.
God created the heaven. He created the earth. He created
The Kenny and JT Show.
Have a great show.
Come on, Cavs.
That's right. We're coming to you live from One Center Court in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Wednesday edition of the Kenny and JT Show. Happy to be joined today by the one and... Are you going to be able to make it today? Are you going to fall asleep on the air?
No, I'm ready.
The one and only Billy Beebe sitting in for Kenny Roda today. How you doing, kid?
I'm ready. Very excited for this game tonight. What a place to be on a night like tonight. What a show to be on.
Well, I stole the tickets, so I was able to sneak you in today. So you're like my kid today. So
Let's
I'm going
do
to
it.
treat you like my son. And, you know, what a big game it is today for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, when the season opened up, we were here for Media Day, Kenny and myself. I don't think any of us could ever have imagined that the Cavaliers would come into a game in the first week of January at 31-4, taking on Oklahoma City, who's probably saying the same thing as they sit first in the West at 30-5?
Yeah, they're 30-5. The Cavaliers one game better at 31-4. The West is more wide open. They don't have as much competition over there. They do have the Jokic's over there, but not the record to battle with. Cavaliers obviously have the Celtics on their tail. They're going to have the Celtics on their tail all season. But all the NBA world, JT, has been talking about this game for 2 days.
Right.
It's prime time. It's going to be on ESPN. It's going to, of course, be on 1480 WHBC. Both teams have had 2 days off to get ready for this one, and they are ready to go. Best in the East, best in the West.
Right. I think Cavaliers have won, 10 straight? And I think OKC's won, 15?
15.
So, I mean, it's the way the Cavaliers started off the season at 15-0, and nobody expected it. But you ride that wave because that's what winning does. I talk about it all the time on this program. And the next thing you know, you start looking at the differences between this season and last season. Obviously, Kenny Atkinson comes to mind.
Right.
And the way that they're playing and getting everyone involved, and when you win, it keeps guys a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit more spring in their step, so to speak. But when you're involved in a game like this and you continue to win, it gets contagious.
I would absolutely agree. And the one stat I've loved, JT, that they've carried for most of this season, I don't think it's still going, but for most of the year, nobody was the leading scorer for the Cavaliers in 2 straight games. So in one game it's Mitchell, one game it's Garland, then it's Mitchell, then it's Allen, then it's Mobley, then it's Garland, then it's Mitchell. You're not just hoping Donovan Mitchell puts up 30 points and everyone follows. You are literally working as a unit, working as a group. Kenny Atkinson, in his first year as the Cavs coach, his thumbprint is all over this team.
Well, absolutely. We talked to Sam Amico yesterday, and he talked about whether or not they're winning or losing, Kenny Atkinson stays calm, cool, collected throughout the entire game. And that includes when he's making the different lineup changes.
Right.
The matchups are what really get to you when you watch the NBA because, let's face it, regular season games in the first week of January, you're not circling on your schedule. And you look at the calendar and say, man, they're still not even at the halfway mark. But this is a pretty big game, but the Cavaliers take them all in stride. No game is too big. And no game is too small. They're going to try to win them all.
Yeah, they are, and they're well rested, too. We were talking about it on the way down. When they're beating the Mavericks, even by 5, even by 10, Donovan Mitchell's only playing 29, 30 minutes a game. In the past, he's had to play 35 to 40 minutes to get them over the hump to keep them at a 4 or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. He's playing less minutes, and they're playing better. Same for the other guys, Garland, Allen, Mobley. They're not maxing out in minutes unless you do get a Boston late game, close game. You want to win on TNT, something like that. That could be the case tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if your core forward play a lot of minutes tonight. But they've been very spread out this season. And for all those saying, the NBA is hard to watch, it's all threes, have you actually sat down and watched the Cleveland Cavaliers? Because they are the most fun team in the NBA.
Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse celebrating their 30th anniversary this season. They've got a lot of different things scheduled for you throughout the course of the season. That includes tonight being Mental Health Awareness Night at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We're going to be joined by Anna Love from Life Act. She's a program director, going to talk about all kinds of different health issues, mental health issues. Also, we've got Tim Alcorn, voice of the Cavaliers, joining us later on this afternoon, as well as, how about this, Mark Price will be stopping by. Mark Price is going to be in the building tonight signing autographs with Larry Nance. And if you'd like to get a view of that or get something signed by them, you have to get here by 5:30. They're going to be at the Cavs Legend Corner from 5:30 to 6:30. And you weren't even born when these guys were playing. But that's not to say that you don't know who Larry Nance or Mark Price is.
No, the NBA Jam. So there are two of the guys you can pick for the Cavaliers in the NBA Jam. That was my introduction to them. And then my first introduction to Mark Price, John Cena wore a Mark Price jersey to the Q in like 2004, 2005. Obviously, Dad, who's Mark Price? There you go.
Think about it. Before there was a guy named LeBron around here, those were the glory days of the Cavaliers. It's the only time that they were really legitimate. If it hadn't been for Michael Jordan, this team might have more than one Larry O'Brien trophy.
Very possible. I mean, I know the devastation of the shot, and then I believe in 95, 96, one of the guys got hurt. The Cavaliers looked good. They were the 2 or 3 seed, and I believe Larry Nance hurt his foot or something like that, and then they ended up tailing off. The team breaks up. I know the trade of Ron Harper was always hot debated.
Yeah.
So, again, NBA Jam, what a duo.
Cavaliers on the first of a back-to-backer. Tomorrow night they face the Toronto Raptors. It's corduroy trucker cap presented by Medical Mutual. We have a couple of them. You want to get a look at them.
Look at that.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, and it's got the rope. This is a new thing, kind of the rope on the front. Looks good.
You know, giveaways used to be really, I don't like to use the word cheap on this program, inexpensive. In today's day and age, when they give something away, it's for real.
Yeah, absolutely. Hats. The bobbleheads are terrific. You get the Kelsey Brothers bobblehead. That's a great giveaway.
You know, not only did they do that here last year, they did it at a Charge game. I think they did it at 2 of them.
Do you see what the Charger are giving away next?
No.
It's a Sam Merrill money bank, like a piggy bank.
Nice.
Because he's cash.
Good idea. Great idea. We're broadcasting live today from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Billy Beebe joining us. Kenny's got the day off. It's the Wednesday edition of the Kenny and JT Show. And the Cavaliers, in a game where they're favored by 2.5 points against OKC, it's East meets West in the conference leaders.
Yeah, you got the number 1 offense in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers, against the number 1 defense in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Right.
It'll help having Alex Caruso out for this game tonight. However, they still have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams. Kind of a basic name. He's not the hottest name in the NBA. He is their second best player, very good player, and the Cavs have dealt with Isaiah Hartenstein before,
right?
And he's always given them trouble.
But I'll tell you who'd give him more trouble if he was available would be Chet Holmgren. He's out tonight, too, for OKC, which really makes it look like, when you consider these two teams, with a guy that's probably, what was he? He could have been the Rookie of the Year. Yeah. And obviously, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that's a hell of a 1-2 punch. Him being out and the Cavaliers still only being favored by 2.5. Now, I know you could look at it and say, hey, we're not at full strength either. But then again, are you going to compare Isaac Okoro to a Chet Holmgren? The answer is no. But you're still seeing Max Strus get back into the fold. He can't be at 100% yet.
No, and it appears not. He's still getting his shot back, still getting his legs back. But like you talked about, Kenny Atkinson, a very smart coach, knows how to get him acclimated. I believe he's still been giving him the starts, but his minutes aren't there yet. Can I give you some other stats from this matchup real quick, JT? First matchup in NBA history between a team on a 15-game win streak and a team on a 10-game win streak. First interconference game in NBA history between two teams with a winning percentage of 85% or higher at this point in the season. And the second time in NBA history that multiple teams have faced each other after winning 30 of their first 35 games. Two very, very good teams. And the NBA, you guys may have talked about it, they have a ratings problem right now. The solution is tonight. This is the game that should remind people two smaller market teams are playing very well.
I hate to use the word small market, but you only use it when you're considering the big markets. The only time you're a small market is when you compare yourself to New York, L.A., and Chicago.
Right.
Regardless of any of the other cities and whatever else, there's only 30 teams in the NBA. There's no such thing in my mind as a small market team.
Sure.
What I look for is talent. What I look for is coaching. What I look for is pace of the game. And we know the Cavaliers are in the top 5 in scoring. And if that team is top 5 in defense or number 1 in defense, it takes you back to baseball. Does pitching great pitching beat good hitting and vice versa. Does that work in basketball? I mean, we don't know, but when you look at a game like tonight, if you're number one in scoring and they're number one in defense, why is the line only at 2.5?
Because those things clash, right?
Well, what they're saying is defense might trump good offense right now.
At this point, I believe so. However, the Cavaliers have a very good defense, too. Not necessarily number one. It may not even be top 5, but they have a very good defense. Also, the thing I love about both these teams, JT, it's a perfect mix of youth and experience, not veteran players. I'm talking about experience. If Donovan Mitchell is closer to your oldest player actually playing minutes, you are a in-the-middle team, right? You're in your prime as a group. You got those younger players. You know, Mitchell is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? Darius Garland is Jalen Williams. Jared Allen is Isaiah Hartenstein. These two, Mobley is Chet Holmgren. I mean, they're so similar in so many ways, and the reason they're winning, staying competitive for multiple years now, they don't have bad contracts on either team. They didn't overpay anybody. They weren't desperate for talent. They drafted well, and they've made it happen.
Well, OKC's got a lot more in the tank than the Cavaliers because they've made deals throughout the last couple of years with deals like with Paul George in order to get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and others. They've got a lot of draft picks that they've got stored up, too. So with the trade deadline coming your way February 6th, if they're close, they could still make moves. And the Cavaliers, they don't have that. They don't have a lot of draft picks that they can utilize if they do decide to get into the trade market.
Yeah, they have one pick. Brian Windhurst was talking about last week. It is their 2031 first-round pick.
That's too far down the line.
The only pick they can use. The Thunder, I completely agree with you. They have the most picks in the NBA. They have a historic amount of picks.
They're still getting guys for KD.
Trades. For Al Horford, when they traded Al Horford. I mean, they have a ton of picks. However, I will say they have not cashed them in yet, and they've sort of run out of time to cash them in. Well, they've spent their money, and to their credit, they keep drafting talent. They had the 12th or 13th pick. That guy's out tonight. It's a German player. And the problem is, JT, you have all these picks, right? You get all these picks. You can't play them. Because your core's set. You have your 8 guys, your 9 guys.
Well, that's what I like about the Cavaliers. And you've got a coach right now that's playing. You know, he can go 10 deep if he wants to. Now, they always say when you get closer to the playoffs or in the playoffs.
It's 7 or 8.
It shrinks up. But, I mean, if it's working for you now, and if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. You talk about a trade deadline. If you wanted to add to a team like this, and you've only lost 4 games, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it.
Completely agree. Windhurst listed 3 things they would consider trading, but they have not considered, and there's no reason to. It is that 2031 first-round pick. It is Karis LeVert, only because his contract's expiring. And then Jalen Tyson, because this was such a bad NBA draft, a guy like Jalen Tyson, who has played well in the minutes he's given, could be seen as a real first-rounder or even 2 first-rounders because that draft was so bad. But like you said, they don't have a ton to give up. That's it.
Yeah, tip-off tonight, 7 o'clock at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Cavaliers taking on OKC. It's amazing to me, at the beginning of the season, like I said earlier, had you thought that these two teams would be 1-2 in the entire league, I'd have told you you're nuts.
Yeah, OKC had a better year than us last year in the regular season. They finished about where we did. They were a second round out by the Minnesota Timberwolves. However, I believe they were the 2 seed in the West, if not the 3 seed. So they were up there in the Western Conference. And then they add Alex Caruso and they add Isaiah Hartenstein, who are good veterans that play defense. However, those guys have been out. Hartenstein just got back from his injury last year, and Caruso always misses games. He's been out. He'll be out tonight. But again, I mean, and the Cavs, when we say best in the East, best versus West, should be noted Cavs best in the NBA against best in the West.
True.
This place will be packed. It'll be buzzing tonight. Obviously an ESPN game, a WHBC game. And again, 2 days rest, JT, so these guys should not come out flat.
You made an interesting point earlier, too, and I think this goes back to the credit of Kenny Atkinson, and we'll hear from him at the bottom of the hour, the way he utilizes his bench. And, you know, coming into this season, it was Donovan or nothing offensively for, you know, where I'm getting at. The development of Evan Mobley has been outstanding so far. But the other thing that we found out was at the end of the season last year, when we saw the interview and we heard we read the article in The Athletic, and it was, hey, if you're going to sign Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland wants out.
Right.
Not necessarily true. It may have been, somehow, some way, they got things moving in the right direction. And even if you just thought that it wouldn't work, and a lot of times you looked at that backcourt and said, 2 6'1" or 6 foot guards that basically play the same game can't work together. We said the same thing about the front court. Will 2 7-footers work? Well, guess what? Under J.B. Bickerstaff, the answer is really no. But
Right.
the answer now, from what you've seen in the record and the scoring, dictates that it can work, and it can work, and it continues to work. So kudos to Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah, the most efficient duo actually for the Cavaliers has been Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley working together. But I think what they decided to do, JT, was, and they've talked about this recently too, Donovan talked about this, it's not Garland has to work with Mitchell. It's not Mitchell has to work with
Right.
Garland. It's not Mobley has to work with Garland. They need to work as a unit, and they have mastered that
Right.
under Kenny Atkinson. Darius Garland isn't bringing the ball up the floor thinking, how do I make this possession work with Donovan?
Well, I have to score.
He's thinking-
I have to outplay Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's what I
done.
think happened last year. Now he's fallen back into his own. And by the way, you can still get out there and vote for your favorite Cavaliers in
Have
the
to.
All-Star game. And you can do that at votecavs.com. Vote for your favorite Cav player today, including Darius Garland. And the reason I say that, it seems as though he's back into his former All-Star self. Now, all of a sudden, his game, he's taken it to a different level. Earlier on when they played the Boston Celtics, I was like, oh, my gosh. Every shot he took, it was getting blocked.
It's hard.
And he was forcing things. Now, you look at his passing, it's unbelievable. And you're right.
He's back. He's back.
He's ready to just dish it to Evan Mobley in the paint, and things really work out. When you break down the numbers and you say, oh, Cavaliers could be scoring a little bit better in this department or that department, one thing that comes to mind for me is foul shooting. They don't get to the line. The reason the foul shooting percentage is down is because they don't shoot that many foul shots per night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. They're averaging 12 more points per game than last year.
Amazing.
Which you may see, 12's not that many in today's NBA. Absolutely it is. Over an 82-game span, over a gigantic winning
Right.
streak, it is a huge deal. The Cavaliers currently have 2 players that would be all-stars. That is Mitchell and Mobley.
Right.
You do need to go out. You need to vote. There's a lot of value in the NBA, unfortunately, in the fan vote. There's a lot of bad players right now that are in the top 10 lists. Derek White should not be an all-star above Darius Garland. Derek White's a good player.
Yeah.
He benefits the Celtics. He's not better than Darius Garland.
Well,
he does not mean more to his team than Darius Garland
You made a
does.
comment earlier, and I think a lot of it has to do with it not necessarily being the best product now because teams start off so slow.
Sure.
Teams like the 76ers started off slow. Teams like the Milwaukee Bucks started off slow.
Yeah.
Teams like the New York Knicks start off slow.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you get into a situation, if you want to talk big market, major market, who's going to get the lion's share of votes? It's going to be players in New York, Milwaukee,
Yeah.
Philadelphia, L.A. And, you know, it goes back to you and I were talking about the way that they had the schedule set up for Christmas Day. And we all know the numbers. We've talked about them a million times on the Kenny and JT show. How many more people tuned in to Netflix to watch the NFL than the NBA?
I did.
Well, I got news for you. When you're playing these teams, there were 10 teams, 5 games on Christmas Day. I'm sorry. He was great and he was fantastic when he was with us. But he's 40 years old. As a younger person right now, I know LeBron James is still up there. But do you really want to tune in to the Lakers playing Golden State, or you have rather seen a Cavaliers and an OKC that day?
Last night, Lakers, Mavericks, you would predict that to be a great game. No
Luka, no Kyrie.
Lakers lose, and they lose. That's where the Lakers are at right now. Completely agree with you. I mean, you got to pay attention. The prime example, JT, LaMelo Ball. He is the prime example. He is what you call a TikTok all-star. He has great highlights.
Yep.
He has great crazy half-court shots,
Yep.
crazy behind-the-back shot, his shoes, his commercials. He's an inefficient player.
He's a good player on a bad team.
And he's only good stats because
Right.
he's on a bad team. He has more votes than a lot of point guards in the NBA right now because a 12-year-old got to his phone and figured out how to vote before you, the listener, right now. You're going to go and vote for Darius Garland right now.
And that's what we want you to do, too. And we need to make a push. VoteCavs.com. It's very simple to do. And it's interesting, too, because it takes me back to now that I think it's 50% of the fan vote is counted. And then I don't really understand how this whole thing goes down on All-Star Day. But I printed out the Charles Barkley and Shaq team and Kenny. I don't know how they're drafted. They're going to select the teams, but it still goes down to who gets the most votes.
Yeah, a league, and then the coach. I think the coaches get a couple of votes to step in and do that. I mean, it's just killer because a guy like Franz Wagner, who's a good player for the Orlando Magic, he's been hurt half the year. He should not be an all-star. That's not how it should work. However, as a lot of people said, it's an entertainment thing. I will say the LeBron, Kevin Love, Kyrie Cavs, right? That was a great stretch. Even the first LeBron stint, right? You had LeBron, Z, Varejao, Mo Williams. Never did the Cavaliers have 3 all-stars at once. You have to go back to the team you were mentioning that I didn't get to grow up watching. You had Price, Doherty, and Nance, 3 all-stars from the Cavaliers. LeBron, Love, Kyrie never did it together. LeBron, Mo Williams never got 3. It was either Mo Williams or Z. And then now you have an opportunity to get 3, should be 4 all-stars with Mobley, Allen, Mitchell, Garland.
And I don't even know how I watch the All-Star game any longer. I know if you're talking about the entire season in the ratings not being that well, will the All-Star be different? And it takes you back to what we see from the Pro Bowl in the NFL, and nobody really wants to tune into that.
Yeah.
Have you lost interest in an NBA All-Star game?
Absolutely. The All-Star game itself, not the weekend. I like the three-point. I like the dunk. I like the skills. The game itself is hard to watch.
Isn't what it used to be.
So they changed the game itself up to be like a first to 121. I mean, they did some things.
Yeah.
Last year was the peak despair of the game, JT. You had guys, you'll say they've never played defense. Last year, you could step up, nobody would pick you up, and you could knock down a 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really, really bad last year.
NBA All-Star starters are selected by the fans. NBA players and the media. Fan vote makes up 50% of the vote. All current players and a select group of media representatives will account for 25% each. So your vote does count.
Half of it, more than half of it, and then another 25. I do feel better that, a Brian Windhurst can step in and say, guys, LaMelo Ball isn't playing unless he gets the fan vote, but look, again, the Cavaliers have 2 right now. They should have 3 or 4. Jared Allen is playing better now than he was at the start of the year. He is extremely valuable to the Cavaliers. That's why I argue for him. A lot of people have voted for Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo has been fine, and the Heat have been less than fine. Jared Allen has been good, and the Cavaliers have been great.
You know the other thing, too? You're a homer, and that's okay. And especially when the team's got a record as good as they are. If this were any other year and they were floating around, I mean, I heard somebody say last week, I think it was John Michael, during one of the telecasts, and he said if the team would have started off, they went 15-0. Had they been 8-7, you would have thought, hey, that's not too shabby. But when they started off at 15-0, it was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe we're onto something here.
Yeah.
And now, when you've got a good record and you are the best in all of basketball, you deserve more. The credit should be paid at the All-Star break, and again, you can make those votes now. TNT's Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith will draft the teams from the 24-player All-Star pool on February 6th, which happens to be the trade deadline.
Those guys, that'll be interesting because those guys prove weekly sometimes that they don't pay enough attention to the league. Will be an extremely interesting trade deadline. Right now, the hot name is Jimmy Butler. Where will Jimmy Butler land? That will benefit the Cavs, JT, because it seems like he'll be out of the Eastern Conference. He will most likely go to a Western Conference
team.
We're
not saying it's a sold-out game tonight, but it's going to be a packed house. If you're coming to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, come on out and join us. Kenny and JT Show broadcasting live until 6:30. Billy Beebe in for Kenny. But speaking of Kenny, we'll get a break in right now. We come back. We're going to hear from Kenny Atkinson, head coach of your Cleveland Cavaliers, next on the Kenny and JT Show.